Welcome back, Deep Divers. Today we're tackling those big, bold theories of everything, those ideas that try to explain, well, the whole shebang.
The whole universe in a nutshell.
Exactly.
We're diving deep into Michael Shermer's The Borderlands of Science, chapters 2 through 5 in particular.
Perfect.
In this deep dive, we're going to figure out what makes a scientific theory legit,
Right.
how those theories developed over time,
Yeah.
and most importantly, how to tell real science from, well, the more out there stuff.
Absolutely. A crucial skill in today's world for sure.
And get this, we'll even find a link between basketball, Kenyan runners, and how we think about science.
Oh, that's going to be fascinating. I can't wait to unpack that one.
Buckle up, folks. It's going to be a wild ride.
Let's kick things off with a blast from the past, shall we? Back in 1950, Martin Gardner, the brilliant mathematician and science writer, published a book called Fads and Fallacies in the Name of Science.
Oh, I've heard of that one. He spent a lot of time debunking pseudoscience. And what's amazing is how many of those fringe beliefs he tackled back then are still around today, just with a slightly different look.
So it's like fashion, what's old is new again. I mean, Gardner debunked theories like the flat earth, the hollow earth.
Oh, yes. Those classics.
And even something called lossonomy, which claimed the universe operates on zigzags and swirls.
Lossonomy, now that's a new one for me.
You can't make this stuff up.
You really can't. But while some of those ideas might seem outlandish, they do point to something really interesting, this human desire to find simple explanations for a complex world. And that's something we'll see popping up again and again in our exploration of theories of everything.
Right. And those concepts, while maybe more fringe now, still kind of linger. What I find intriguing is how they morph into different forms. Think alternative medicine, ufology, and of course those theories of everything we were talking about.
Yeah.
That desire to find a single explanation for everything just seems to be a part of us, doesn't it?
It really does seem to be a recurring theme throughout history, this need to make sense of the universe and our place in it.
So some things never change, even in the world of, let's call it, unconventional thinking. And speaking of unconventional, we know that even today, Skeptic magazine gets letters and manuscripts from folks who think they've cracked the code of the universe.
Oh, absolutely. Michael Shermer shared some great examples in the book. I remember one email from someone with a theory of logic.
Oh, yeah? That one?
The writer claimed it explained all the laws of physics and was really eager to work with Shermer in a lab.
Yeah, talk about shooting for the stars. And then there was that manuscript that landed on his desk, promising not just to finish Einstein's unified field theory, but to reveal the fundamental cause of gravity.
Right. Ambitious, to say the least.
Ambition certainly isn't lacking in these folks.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me is that these individuals might not have the traditional scientific background.
Yeah.
But their passion for knowledge, their drive to discover the secrets of the universe, that's undeniable.
I agree. It speaks to something deep within us, this human need to find patterns and meaning, especially in a world that often feels chaotic and random.
It makes you wonder, what is it about these theories of everything that grabs us so much?
Yeah, what is it about that search for a single unifying explanation that captivates us?
Is it a yearning for simplicity in a complex world? A need to feel like we've got a handle on this vast universe?
That's a really interesting question, and one we should keep in mind as we continue exploring the ideas in the borderlands of science. But for now, I think it's time to shift gears a bit.
Okay, where are we headed next?
Let's move into a realm where this desire for a single, unifying explanation also shows up, often leading us down some fascinating paths, the world of cloning and genetic engineering.
Oh, now that's a topic that's sure to spark some debate. Let's dive in. It's funny how this drive to find that single explanation that covers everything, it pops up everywhere.
It really does, doesn't it?
Even when you think about really advanced science, like human cloning.
Yeah.
I remember when Dolly the sheep was cloned back in '97, like the whole world was talking about it. And not always, in a good way.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Dolly's arrival definitely stirred up a hornet's nest of reactions. I mean, you had President Clinton calling for a bioethics review almost immediately.
Right.
And slapping a ban on any federal funding for human cloning research.
Yeah.
And then you had the Council for Responsible Genetics. They released a statement. They compared cloning to things like slavery and torture, even biological warfare. I mean, wow.
Those are some pretty heavy comparisons.
Definitely.
What do you think was behind those super strong reactions? It seems like people were really wrestling with some really deep questions about what it means to be human.
Oh, absolutely. I think a lot of the fear around cloning came from, well, a misunderstanding of what cloning actually is. This idea that a clone would be a carbon copy, a perfect replica of the original person, both physically and mentally. It's what we call the identical personhood myth. It's this idea that fuels all those sci-fi stories about evil twins and stolen identities.
So it's not just a simple copy and paste when it comes to humans.
No, no, not at all. There's a lot more to it than just genes. Dr. Nancy Segal, a leading expert on twins, you know her work.
I've heard of her, yeah.
She's done some fascinating research in this area.
Yeah.
Her book, Entwined Lives, dives into the lives of identical twins, and it really shows how important the environment is in shaping who we are.
So even if you have identical twins, same DNA, they could still end up with totally different personalities.
Absolutely. Segal's research shows that even traits that are considered highly heritable, things like height and weight, can be different between identical twins because of environmental factors.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
One twin might develop different eating habits.
Right.
Or have a more active lifestyle. These little differences can really add up over time and shape their development in their own unique ways.
Okay, so no evil twin scenario then. That's a relief.
Mm.
But what about that whole playing God fear? Was that part of what was freaking people out about cloning? The idea that we're overstepping our boundaries, messing with stuff we shouldn't.
I think you're right. That's another big piece of the puzzle, this fear of messing with the natural order, of going beyond human limits.
Right.
It's been around for centuries. There's a great example, actually, in the film The Day the Earth Stood Still. The studio was forced to cut a line from the script because it implied that humans could create life.
Really? What was the line?
Well, it doesn't really matter. The point is they had to cut it because, according to the censors, only God can do that.
It's like every time science makes a big jump forward, it runs right into these old anxieties about what's okay, what's ethical, and what it means to be human.
I think that's a great way to put it. With advancements like cloning, those lines get even blurrier. It forces us to ask, where do we draw the line? What does playing God even mean? And who gets to decide?
Those are some big questions for sure. It's interesting how the identical personhood myth, the one you talked about earlier, how it ties into all this.
Oh, yeah. How so?
It's like we're searching for those simple explanations.
Yeah.
Like a single theory for what makes us, us.
Yeah.
But like we've been seeing, the truth is way more complicated.
Absolutely. It is way more nuanced. Our identities, they're woven from this mix of genes, experiences, nature, and nurture.
I like that, a tapestry of you,
Exactly. And I think you've touched on something important, this desire for simple explanations, this yearning for that single theory of everything. Sometimes it blinds us to the beautiful complexities of the world.
Yeah.
Whether we're talking about the vastness of the universe or the very core of what makes us human.
Okay, so we've tackled theories of everything, like in physics and cosmology. We've even talked about human identity.
Right?
Are you ready to see how this need for simple explanations plays out in another area? One that's always, a bit controversial and often misinterpreted.
Oh, I'm intrigued. Lead the way.
Let's dive into the world of black athletes and why they dominate certain sports. All right, so this next topic is one that can get kind of heated.
Yeah.
For sure.
So we got to be careful here. We're going to talk about black athletes and how they're so dominant in certain sports. It's something that people oversimplify a lot. And it comes with a whole bunch of historical baggage.
Absolutely. It's a conversation that needs, a lot of nuance. We got to be willing to look beyond those easy answers, those quick assumptions.
Right. Exactly. Think about the 2000 LA Marathon. All of the top 5 finishers, they were Kenyan.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
It makes you want to just jump to conclusions, Assume there's some kind of built-in biological advantage.
Right, like it's in their genes or something.
But is it really that straightforward?
That's the big question, isn't it? Is it just coincidence,
Yeah.
maybe cultural influences, or something else we haven't even considered?
Well, John Entine's book, Taboo, Why Black Athletes Dominate Sports and Why We're Afraid to Talk About It, it kind of dives headfirst into this whole controversy. It does. It's a really interesting read, but it definitely sparks some backlash, and for good reason, I mean, this isn't just some abstract scientific debate. We're talking about something that's connected to harmful stereotypes and a long history of prejudice.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We
Yeah.
can't ignore that. I mean, you think back to those comments from people like Jimmy the Greek Snyder. He said that black athletes' success was because of selective breeding during slavery. Or Al Campanis, he said black athletes didn't have the necessities to be managers.
Right. Those comments are, they're cringeworthy, to say the least.
It makes you cringe. They're based on these unfounded ideas, And they totally ignore all those social and economic factors, those cultural things that are also at play. It's complicated.
It is.
So how do we even begin to have this conversation in a responsible way?
Mm.
How do we separate those biases we all have from real scientific research?
Well, I think it starts with acknowledging that historical context, you know? We have to be super careful about the conclusions we jump to. Like, yes, black athletes are amazing in sports like basketball, football, track and field,
For sure.
but they don't dominate every sport. I mean, look at cycling, right? It needs a lot of the same physical stuff as running.
Yeah,
But you hardly ever see any black cyclists at the top levels. So why is that?
that's a great point. It does kind of suggest that genetics aren't the whole story.
Sure.
So what else could be going on?
Well, think about the resources you need to be a successful cyclist. You need expensive bikes, equipment, specialized coaching. You need the chance to train and compete at a high level. Not everyone has access to that, right? And then there's the historical inequalities, the lack of access to education, wealth, opportunities. That plays a huge part too.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like that tapestry analogy again. All these different factors are woven together to create the final picture.
It's never just one thing.
Exactly. But it's so easy to see those patterns and assume there's just one cause. It's tempting to oversimplify things.
Yeah, it is. So is there a way to avoid doing that, to catch ourselves when we're oversimplifying?
Definitely. We got to be aware of what we call hindsight bias. It's basically this tendency we all have to look back at things and come up with stories that fit what happened, even if those explanations wouldn't have predicted it in the first place.
Yeah, I think we all do that sometimes. Can you give me an example of how that hindsight bias thing might work, like in this case?
Okay, so imagine if Jewish athletes suddenly dominated basketball, like they did way back in the early 1900s. Would we be saying it's because of their natural athleticism? Would we point to their genes? Probably not, right? We'd probably be looking at totally different things, focusing on the cultural factors, the support from their communities, or maybe those historical circumstances.
Huh, yeah. It's crazy how our perceptions can totally change depending on who's on top, who's winning. It really shows how important it is to be critical of our own assumptions and those stories we create. So we've come to the end of our deep dive into theories of everything. What are some of the big takeaways you hope people walk away with?
Well, I hope we've shown that these theories of everything, you know, whether they're about the universe or how we behave, they often tell us more about our desire for simple answers, our need to make sense of a messy world, than they do about reality itself. The universe, as we've seen, doesn't always fit into neat little boxes.
Right. More complicated than that.
Exactly.
And I think it's also important to remember that science, it's not just a bunch of facts set in stone.
Yeah,
It's a process. We're always discovering new things.
exactly. It's constantly evolving.
So we got to be open to those nuances, those complexities. We have to challenge what we think we know and be careful about those simple answers.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Curiosity, critical thinking, and a healthy dose of skepticism, those are the best tools we have as we explore the world and try to understand it all.
Well said. This deep dive has given us a lot to think about. What stood out to you? Join the conversation on social media. Share your thoughts. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.